Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Neidharts. I'm with my beautiful mother, Ellie. Say hello. And I'm with my stunning sister, Jenni. And we have a couple of things we want to kick off this episode with. First of all, welcome my mom to Instagram.
Thanks. Muffy couldn't be here with us because she's on a boat in
Well, let's explain who Muffy is.
India.
My mom just joined Instagram this week, and my little sister, her name is Muffy, and we wanted my little sister Muffy to be here with us to film this because today we are doing a very special episode about my dad, and we are celebrating today the 2-year anniversary of my dad's passing. So today,
Celebration of his life.
Yeah, we're celebrating his life, and Jenni actually came up with this idea to talk about my dad and just share some things that
Reflect on his
Yes.
legacy and what he's about.
Reflect on him and just, share some feelings that we've had over the last 2 years, things that we've talked about, things that we haven't talked about, and just reflect on his life in a positive way. It's crazy how fast 2 years have gone by because I remember it like it was yesterday, but it also feels like it's been 100 years at the same time. It was early in the morning and Jenni called me.
So I was, it was early morning. I was on my way to
7:30 in the morning when you heard about it now.
work at that morning. And I work with children with disabilities. But I was on my way to work and mommy called me. My mom called me. And
7:15.
it was very early, all I know. But mommy said, something's happened to daddy. And I didn't know what happened, but my mom wasn't over dramatic. But I rushed over to my mom's house because I knew there was something. And when I went over to my mom's house, my mom and dad's house, there was a white sheet laid out. And I knew when the white sheet was laid out that Daddy had gone. And at that point, I just knew I had to take over because that was always my role in the family. Like I was the sibling, the oldest sibling. I guess I'm giving up my age, but I'm the oldest sibling, so.
That's okay.
But I was the one that took over, and my mom was on the patio, and I called Nattie. You're the first person I called.
Yes, Jenni called me first.
Yeah.
And I was in, I was in
New York.
I was in,
Barclays Center,
I think I was in, I can't remember, but it was either North Carolina or South Carolina. I can't remember. TJ would be able to know the town, but long story short, I was getting ready for Monday Night Raw, and I was supposed to wrestle Alexa Bliss that day, or that night on Monday Night Raw. I was supposed to wrestle Alexa Bliss that night on Monday Night Raw, and I just remember Jenni calling me and saying, hey, it was really early in the morning. It was like, I felt like maybe it was like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Very early.
And Jenni called me and just said, hey, where are you? And I thought it was really weird that you were calling me that early because you never call me that early in the morning. And I said, well, I was headed to do some green screens for Total Divas because at that time we were filming like the narrative for the show. And Jenni just said, well, are you able to talk? And I thought, well, that's really weird that Jenni is like asking me to talk at 7 o'clock in the morning. She never has once ever asked me to do that, ever, for anything. And then you basically told me that, something happened to Daddy. And you didn't say to me, Jenni never once said Daddy died, but you did say like something happened to Daddy, you need to get home. And in that moment, I really knew that something bad had happened. But part of me also, I feel like, didn't want to know what happened because I feel like we go into like a defense mode where we don't want to know exactly what happened. But I knew that it wasn't good, and I just thought like, I hope he's okay, but I need to get home. So luckily, WWE,
Yes, WWE was amazing because I will say that I knew what was happening, and also when things happen like this, you don't really understand.
You just go through the motions.
You go through the motions, but it's also like you only have hours to think about it. It's like, so not to be like too weird, but like, so my dad was laying on the floor, he was dead, and we had to figure out what was going to happen. So the first thing is like we touched base with WWE, and they're the ones that kind of put into place like, okay, this is the funeral home that you have to call. This is who you have to get in touch with. And they really did. They put all that into place for us. And it was also not far from SummerSlam, which was...
SummerSlam was actually like...
There were a lot of variables.
6 days. SummerSlam was 6 days after my dad passed away.
It was the following week.
So I was going to be at SummerSlam, and you know, it was such a, like, it was all just such a whirlwind, because like I went from being in this mode at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning of, I've got to do these green screens for Total Divas. I've got this match with Alexa Bliss tonight. We're advertised to wrestle. The night before, we had done a live event. I remember, like,
It's like our lives were in slow motion, and we were kind of watching from afar and
Yeah.
having to deal with this, but not even knowing really, you know, what we
Right.
were dealing with.
it was
hard.
crazy, because also what started happening is, as soon as my dad passed away, Instagram and Twitter and social media, everything just blew up. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to like respond to anyone, family members, people were asking, like, press was reaching out
That
to
was
us.
so crazy too, because we kind of we just looked at Daddy as just Daddy, and all of a sudden it's like you know, it was like on television and stuff.
And then, like,
it's we
because
just-
I didn't know how to
believe
respond,
that,
but
you know,
we-
it's just so surreal.
Yeah, it was
very surreal.
it was very surreal. And like Jenni, you know, because Jenni was home at the time, and she was like 5 minutes from where my mom and dad live, Jenni got to my mom and dad's house really fast, and you were there when they were handling my dad.
Well, what ended up happening is I called Jenni because I knew Daddy had gone, and I didn't want to tell Jenni again, like Nattie, she didn't want to tell you, Nat, but I just said that something's happened to Daddy, and you need to get over here right away, which Jenni did. And when Jenni got there, the police were there and the paramedics, and they and they wouldn't let me stay there. They wanted me to go outside so they could
Work on-
sort of work on Daddy, and didn't want to upset me. So Jenni ended up having to deal with a lot of stuff that I didn't deal with, because they were thinking that they were you know, saving me from stuff, and I sometimes wish that I would have been there more, but they just had me out on the back porch kind of waiting, you know. But Jenni was very strong and just dealt with all the craziness. And then we called Muffy and told Muffy, I actually talked to
Yeah.
Drew, and then Drew called Muffy, and then it went from there. But there was just, it was swirling then with all the craziness.
And I
of
just
what
remember, like,
happened.
you know, Jenni and I were talking about this earlier, like WWE was so good about getting me a flight home immediately. Within like 20 minutes, I was like headed straight to the airport.
Yeah,
and
you were there
And with helping to put the funeral arrangements
Yeah.
together.
You were there by
and
1 or 2 in the afternoon, weren't you?
yeah, Mark Carano helped with like
They were really good
Yeah,
at
it was Mark Carano helped find the funeral home.
Yeah, he did.
And
Yeah.
that funeral home was 10 minutes from our house, so it took out the stress of like having to find that, because you don't realize the work that goes into, like, when somebody passes away, you have to think about all these things that have to be done, but you're also still trying to process like what has happened.
I think in a lot of ways too, people don't really understand, but our family has a huge connection with WWE, and it goes back from
1946.
So when this happened, I
Vince
actually never
McMahon's
really
father,
thought about it until
grandfather.
a few days ago when we were thinking about doing this video. But when I think about it, like WWE or WWF at the time, they've been like a family to us from the beginning. So when Daddy passed away, WWE, it was like one of the first people we thought about contacting. Like, what are we going to do? And they helped put the pieces together, and that was really special to us.
Yeah, and it helps when you're going through that process as a family, when you just can't, you know, you're trying to get everything, all the I's dotted and the T's
Well, you're in a
crossed.
state
and-
of shock, and you just are going through the motions. And, people, you know, were, you know, at Nattie and Jenni, you know, you were trying to keep me calm too, but WWE kept you calm, and so
Yeah.
you know, it
They
was
really
like
did. I will say
and-
that they
and
were
the-
like a family to us when we were needing somebody, and they reached out to us, like you said,
Yeah.
Mark Carano.
And then-
and it was also during this SummerSlam, so there was a lot of stuff happening, and that made it also a little more crazy, because you know, we were dealing with you know, like a lot of variables.
Well, and even when we had to go, you know, I had to go straight from the plane. As soon as I landed in Tampa, I went straight from the airport straight to the funeral home, because there was a reason why, I can't remember what it was, but there was a reason why we had to go straight to the funeral home. They wanted to make sure that we viewed my dad. We went straight to the funeral home, and we had to make all these decisions together as a family. And I do remember Jenni, you know, just being super protective of my dad, and like, she didn't, you know, when I saw my dad, I didn't really want to, like, I didn't look at Daddy's face.
Well, we went in there together, all of us,
Yeah.
and then Muffy, you and I, you know, were you know, a little more reluctant to, you know, kind of deal with it head on, and Jenni ended up staying after we
Yeah.
kind of said our goodbyes. Jenni went back and just kind of had a special moment with Daddy that we couldn't bring
Yeah.
ourselves to have.
And I'm really glad that you had that moment with Daddy, because I didn't want to see Daddy in a way that I For me, I wanted
Well, 'cause I just didn't
I wanted to remember Daddy how I remembered him.
Because it wasn't Daddy that we knew.
No,
But it wasn't, you know, I just wanted to remember him how I wanted to remember him. And, you know, that's just what I wanted for me. Because I always just wanted to, you know, I needed to have peace with myself. And Jenni really was just very protective of my dad. And, you know.
Well, I think part of it was that I saw Daddy in the most vulnerable state that he was ever in. And that was, I saw Daddy when he had died.
Yeah. And
He
Jenni was able to more mentally prepare herself.
So I was there with Daddy when he was taken into the, it sounds kind of morbid, but anyway, I was there to see like my dad be taken away. But I kind of feel like in some way I preserved his dignity because he, like when you pass away, it's like being born. Like there's some sort of like passage
into another world. I know.
It's really just so true.
So I was there for that.
So Daddy was there for you when you were born.
Well,
that's where I get it
Daddy
out
was
to,
a handful, so I wouldn't say that.
No, but
I
Daddy
just
was
feel
there
like
when you were born, and you were there when he.
But I was very blessed to like help. Well, I just wanted to make sure that Daddy was held or taken care of, and it had
We wanted
dignity.
Daddy to have a peaceful passing into whatever world he was headed to.
Yeah,
You know,
but I just wanted to make
we
sure
don't know
that.
what that world is, and we just know it's another place.
Yeah.
That's how I really believe.
No, but you made sure that Daddy had dignity.
Yep. And, you know, what I thought too, Daddy, when he did pass, before he passed, Daddy'd had a wonderful week with, you know, his sister Debbie came down to visit. And we've said this before, but it was a very special thing because Daddy and Debbie had not seen each other in a long time.
They hadn't seen each other in 20 years.
Yeah, because...
But it was so nice because my Aunt Debbie came down and she spent the last weekend of my dad's life with him. So one of the things I love that Debbie brought was my Aunt Debbie brought like all these old photos and memories and videos and things of my dad that like
he was little.
Jenni and Muffy and my mom and I got to watch with my dad.
Which we
And
had
it was
never seen before.
so great because it was like in that moment that Daddy had so much clarity. He was watching this video and he was like looking back on his life, and it was like a highlight reel of Daddy's life.
It was remarkable clarity. He hadn't kind of shined like that, shone, I guess. But anyway, he had not had that kind of, you know, peace. And then when Debbie came down, he was so happy to see her.
And what was it that I want you to tell the story, Mommy? So my dad, Jenni, and my mom and my dad, I had to leave to go on the road for live events. But Jenni, my mom, my dad, and Debbie, my dad's sister, and her husband Paul, they went out to eat
at a really nice Italian restaurant
called the Noble Crust here in Wesley Chapel. And my dad wanted to give Debbie a gift and tell them the story of that. I love the story. This is like one of my favorite stories of my dad.
We had this wonderful, you know, experience at the restaurant. Daddy enjoyed all these foods and stuff, and then afterwards we were all feeling pretty good. And Daddy and Debbie went to give each other hugs goodbye, and Daddy pulled out two cards of himself, and he said to Debbie, "I don't have anything else to give you but these cards." And he said, "I really want you to have these of me." He said, "I don't have anything else of mine." You know, he said, you know, and they told Debbie he loved her, and they had such a nice time together. And you know, it's just so sweet. And then we went home, and you know, but it was also perfect. Like Daddy saw Muffy and the boys, and you know, Paul and Debbie got to see their great niece.
But it was really sweet that my dad didn't have much to give my aunt. He didn't have a lot of money or a lot of, you know, he didn't have something fancy to give her, like a piece of jewelry or anything. But he had these two little Topps trading cards.
To him. He said, "I want you to have them." Debbie still, you know, has both of them and will cherish them.
Yeah, he had these two little Topps trading cards, and he gave them to my aunt and said, "I want you to have this." And then
he very carefully pulled them out of his pocket, and then he knew that was what he was going to be giving Debbie.
Yeah,
and that was so special.
And also, he died on the same day as his father passed away.
Yeah,
at the same time of the morning too.
My dad passed away 20 years after his own father passed away in the same city.
Yeah,
to the day, in the same exact day, and it's just like I feel like there's just been so many signs of like, you know, when you look back on Daddy's life, like there's just been so many things that it was really like destiny chasing.
He did have that. That's a good way of putting it.
Like it just is so crazy to think that, like Jenni actually brought up a good point, and I've never even thought about it until now. But like when you come into this world, it is so, you are so vulnerable, and
you're born.
you know, you're just like it can be almost like, you know, birth can be like almost a violent experience because it's so intense. But death is almost the same thing. And for Jenni to be there with my dad, like I'm so happy that Daddy had you there to protect him and to look out for him. And
I was too. It was really a blessing to be there with Daddy, and to be there when he passed away.
I know that
I was very protective
so
of it. You know,
that you were there. Like he I'm sure that
it's a
he
blessing,
knew
though,
your
'cause-
presence was there when he was gone.
yeah, but it is a blessing that you were there. And you know, we wanted to share some like pictures and moments and memories, and just, you know, just to take this moment and just celebrate my dad's life, and just talk about how much we love him, how much we miss him, but how proud we are of what he did in his life.
His legacy.
He was, you know, he played in the NFL. He was a world-class shot putter when he was a teenager, and he went on to become a WWE Hall of Famer.
And there's a reason why you and I have really chubby legs.
No,
We're very big girls.
Daddy
Jenni said there's a reason why we have chubby legs. I think you should speak for yourself. I have beautiful legs. Let me stand up and show everybody my legs.
There was a destiny with Daddy, and he was a natural born athlete. You know, he was a born athlete.
My dad was a really special person, and you know, and what I love though, and in closing of this video, you know what I love is that because of Daddy's incredible career with WWE and all the things that he did in pro wrestling, because my Daddy loved being a pro wrestler.
He did. Daddy loved wrestling.
What I love so much is that to this day, people will send me pictures that I've never seen before of my dad. Somebody sent me a picture this morning of my dad with Hulk Hogan. And, you know, people will send me pictures and videos and clips and memories of my dad that I've never seen before. And I'll send them to Jenni and to Muffy and to my mom. And it's so nice that we can still like celebrate my dad in so many ways. So that's why we wanted to, you know, just take this moment.
What comforted us so much is that he was so
loved,
you know, beloved by people.
And he was a giant pain in the ass.
He was.
He was high maintenance.
It was a lot of high maintenance, but
he was our high maintenance.
But I have to say,
he was our pain in the ass.
I was married to him for 40 years, and you know, he had my father, you know, had. You know, saw something in him, and he was a very special person.
He was a very, very special person.
And nobody ever, you know, could fill his shoes ever, and nobody ever will either. You know, he was a one of a kind, but Grampy saw it, you know. And I got 3 beautiful daughters out of it, and that matters because they were very special. Because he was special, and my dad was special, and you know, it comes out in my children. And
Grampy loved Daddy.
My grandfather absolutely adored my dad.
That's how you guys met.
Johnny was very hip.
But my dad.
Things, mind you, but, you know.
Well, like I said, Daddy was a giant pain in the ass, but he was our pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But
was a special person.
My dad though was just so special, and he was just like such a unique person, and we just want to thank everyone.
Best in the nation in the shot put when he was, you know, 18 years old, and best in the nation, third in the world. So there.
Thank you for listening to our story. We appreciate all of our fans and followers, and we cannot wait to share another video again. And please share your stories with us.
Yes.
I just want to say, Courtney, and I just think that by celebrating Daddy's life and that maybe other people who've gone through what we've gone through will find some comfort in our words and our feelings. So anyway, it's a hard thing, but life goes on.
But it is important for us
That's
to...
really sweet, Mommy.
I love that.
That's really sweet.
I really do think though, and this is why we wanted to do this video, because we were trying to think of a way to celebrate my dad's life. And Jenni brought up that she thought it'd be a good idea to just talk openly about what we went through the day my dad died, and now it's 2 years later, and that, you know, there's good days and there's bad days, but...
And family matters so much in times like this.
But there's no playbook on how to handle grieving.
No.
There's no playbook on how to handle losing someone.
No.
And like there's times when like I don't feel like crying about my dad, and then there's just days that I'll like be really emotional about my dad. There's mornings we'll wake up and I'll be like, I had a dream about my dad. And then there's times when you'll call me and say, I wish I could dream about Daddy. I wish he'd come to me in some way and talk to me. And you know, Jenni and my mom and my little sister Muffy and my aunt.
Dreams where I know that Daddy's out there, but I can't find him, and I get so upset that he's you know, not home. And
But-
that's, because it's, but
But what's so great is that we have this sense of family, and you
such a
guys are,
wonderful family.
allowing us into your world and letting us share this journey with you guys. It makes us feel better, and we wanted to do this, and Jenni is the one that suggested this because we want people to feel like they're not alone. And, nobody has to go through the grieving process alone. And really, since it's been 2 years since my dad has passed, we just want to continue to celebrate his life, his legacy, who he was, and what his spirit still carries.
Yeah, we're going to go watch some wrestling matches of him now.
Yes. So we want to thank you guys for liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting. Jenni and I, we love
interacting with the people that follow us. It's really meaningful. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, we love interacting with all of you. So thank you very much for letting us share this story. We love you guys. And that is it. Voila. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Let's have a group hug.